Alright, Blizzard, let's talk heroes. Leah, the possibly saddest character arc that Diablo has ever had, that I can think of. I love this character. I always loved this character since I started playing Diablo 3, and I've read some of the books and things like that. She's really, really interesting, and yet she just gets totally shafted by the storyline and her origins and that whole shtick here. But ever since they've shown Primeval Diablo in like the original trailer for HOTS, and then they later on put the skin in there after I bitched about it for God knows how long. People were wondering, like, hey, are they ever going to put Leah in there? Because, you know, she could have her own skill set. I mean, she's not just the Primeval, and if you don't know that, you go play fucking Diablo 3 already. But she could be pretty interesting, and thankfully there's a build here for her by beboptimusprime. beboptimusprime. Okay. Well, anyway, they've given me permission to review their Leah concept, which is a specialist. I don't know why I looked at that and was like, I forgot what that symbol means. Clearly, I'm not in the right mindset to be doing this, but yeah, we're going to skip right on down here. So her combat trait is Restrained Corruption. Leah draws on the power of the Black Soul Stone to amplify her magical abilities, and as a result, she does not use mana as a resource. Instead, her abilities lessen her control over the Soul Stone. When her control gauge is depleted, she enters a state of corruption. In this state, Leah has access to a whole new set of abilities, and hitting targets with these abilities restores control, and she's able to fully restore her control. Wait, what? Hitting targets with these abilities restores control. And if she is able to restore full control, okay, so this basically just brings the bar back down, and when it gets empty, she'll return to full health. By default, she has 500 points of control. Interesting. It's kind of like a fucking bar you kind of have to balance back and forth here. I think that's a little bit similar to the Lacdanon build that was submitted a while back. So her standard ability for Q is Sustained Corruption. Lee channels a pure beam of dark energy to a single target. Both Lee and her target are slowed by 60%, and the target takes 75 damage per second. This seems oddly similar to the beam you see her using in Act 4? Is it 4? It might be 3, where she's got the Black Soul Stone and she has to, like, channel into it at Adria's command. Like, I'm pretty sure that's what the animation for it would look like anyway. Cast range is about the range of Titus's auto attack. Thank you so much for giving me examples. I love that. Break range is about the range of Vala's auto attack. Costs 5 control per second. Our W is Shadow Swarm. Leah loosens her grip on the Soul Stone and releases 6 Shadow Demons. Each demon acquires a target and moves towards them at mounted speed. They reach the target to deal 225 damage and reveal the target for 3 seconds. That's pretty good. I like that. It's although I will say that seems a little bit like Rexar's Pack of Boars ult. I don't remember what the hell thing is called, but it seems a little bit like that where you just release a whole bunch of them and they fucking seek out their own little targets and deal something like. This just reveals them. I think the boar is slow. So the trade-off is, do you think this is more worth it or not? But this is built into her kit. It's not an ult. There's where your problem might come from. Anyway, acquisition range is similar to the untalented Drain Hope range, prioritizes heroes, deals 75% less damage to non-heroic targets, and does not target structures. You know, okay, that's fair. That's fair. It's pretty balanced, but I do worry it's a little bit too similar to Rexar's ult, but again, up for debate. And her E is Dark Bargain. Lee selects an allied hero, can be self-cast, and if that hero is not damaged in the next 2 seconds, they're healed for 100 health. Leah restores 100 control. Okay, so this is how you keep your control in control. You keep control of your control? Whatever. This is how you do the thing with the other thing to get the thing. And cast range is above Vala's auto attack range, costs 20 control. Interesting. Couldn't you have just made it so it gives her 80 control back, but it doesn't cost anything? Like, wouldn't that have been a trade-off? I guess this is if it fails, because it says if the hero's not damaged, they heal and you get control back. So what if they are damaged? It just fails? You cast it and it gets nothing? Is that the gist of what this is going for? I could use a little bit more clarification. And then I guess this is her abilities once she loses all control. So, secondary abilities. The Q becomes Corrupted Earth. Leah's power takes shape and shapes the earth into a crystalline spike, radiating dark energy in a small AoE around it. Enemies affected in the area take 50 damage per second. Each tick of damage received this way restores tank control. Heroic targets provide double the control gain. In other words, it really wants you to go back to being normal Lee, not fuck your shit Lee. I'm going to keep saying Lee. It's probably Leah or Leah, but Lee is just the easiest way to pronounce it when I'm talking about it repeatedly. But you know what I mean. Like, we're all talking about the same girl here. Her new W is Shadow Prison. After a 1-second delay, Leah summons a shadowy prison at the selected location. Enemy heroes hit by this effect are rooted for 1.5 seconds to take 100 damage. 100 damage seems kind of flat. Like, is that built in? Is that just standard? It's a flat 100 damage no matter what level you are? Because that's good early game, sort of, but it sucks late game. Like, I'm assuming this is a damage that probably scales. Like, maybe they just did, maybe Bebop Optimus didn't want to scale out the damage, and this was more like, this is an idea, I did not refine the damage specs or anything, which is totally fine, because that's what I would do. I would just write, like, moderate damage, low damage, something like that, to kind of cover my own ass, I think. And each hero affected by this restores 100 control. How much does she need? 500 control? 500 control is to go back to normal. Interesting. I do like the fucking now you're rooted, so that's kind of good. And our new E is Shadow Pulse. Leah emits a rapid wave of energy, then 5 damage and slowing targets hit by 20% for 0.5 seconds. Each target hit restores tank control. Effects are doubled on heroic targets. So they're slowed by 40% for 1 second and restore 20 control. Is that about right? And it deals 70 damage? It's not bad. And her heroic abilities. Evil's Mark has a fucking paragraph worth of information. Alright, so Evil's Mark. Leah unleashes the Soul Stone's Fury for a moment, making a large area within its curse. After a 1 second delay, enemy heroes in the area of effect take 100 damage. Again, I'm gonna assume going forward, this is not stack or stoic damage. This is rising or falling damage based on level, things like shrink ray, shit like that. Like, it can be affected in some way. And or cursed. As a result of this curse, for the next 4 seconds, the target will take a small amount of damage as they move. That's interesting. There's no abilities that hurt you as you move so far. Like, they just hurt you regardless. So that'd be interesting that you could, if you could counter this by just freezing, which encourages you to use it in a team fight where people will want to get away from your shit. That's cool. I like that. Okay. Movement effects that teleport the target, globals, blink, etc. do not trigger this effect, but other movements affect dashes, leaps, etc. What? Movement effects that teleport the target, such and such, will not trigger the effect, but other movements will not. So they both don't? Okay, you know, I'm just gonna go out on a limb here and guess the dashes, leaps, tumbles, whatever, things that physically move your character that do not require magic to do, probably do trigger the ability still. I think that's what they meant to say. They just said not twice. I'm assuming the second one was the one that was supposed to be affected by it, because it makes sense. You're actually physically moving. Like Vala tumbling, she's still moving. She's not just teleporting, so that's my guess. Cast range is similar to Vala's auto attack. AoE is slightly larger than Horrify. Costs 100 control. And the other heroic ability is Unhinged. I like the picture there where it's just her with the glowing red eye and the smoke. It's pretty cool. Leah releases her control fully, immediately entering a state of corruption. For each 100 points of control remaining, she adds 1 second to corruption. Okay, so this probably, like, I noticed that none of these have cooldowns on them, like, at all. So I'm assuming, either you just forgot or whatever, but I'm assuming Unhinged is probably one of those abilities that doesn't have a large cooldown. It's probably like 50, 60 seconds, maybe 100 at tops. So that way you could just do it. Because otherwise, like, you're basically just giving them a speed up button to do what their passive already does. That kind of needs a low cooldown to be justified. Otherwise, you may as well just take Evil's Mark, have a new ability, and you can still do everything Unhinged does, just slower. So I'm going to assume this has a really low cooldown. But, you know, it's cool. It tweaks with it ties into the passive, which is something that I've always liked when a heroic does it. So let's just stick with that. Alright, and the talents. Level 1. Victim's Bargain. It's a quest. Restore 2,000 health with Dark Bargain. That would take a while if you're only restoring 100 health at a time. At 1,000 health, remove the control, which means you can just cast it anyway. Or no, you just use... Okay, sorry, no. So you can't just cast it anyway, but you remove this. You just... Sorry. This. Yeah, you remove that. Okay, fair enough. At 2,000 health, Leah will receive 50% of the effect if it's not self-cast. So you just gain extra health. It's a pretty good quest. I like that. Level 1. Shadowed Confidence. Return from corruption 5 times. Upon completion, extend corruption's duration by 1 second. Again, pretty easy to do. Yeah, I like it. I got no complaints there. Corruption Shield. Gain 2 charges of Spell Shield, each providing 50 spell armor for 3 seconds when spell damage is received. Standard spell armor thing, although it is 2 charges, which seems a lot better than what you'd normally see in these abilities. And it's a level 1. I don't think there's too many heroes that have this kind of stuff at level 1 besides a Nubarak, so interesting. And you can toggle it on and off. Oh, it does give you, it does cost control though. That's something to be aware of. So that offsets the charge thing by giving it a cost. Everyone else gets it for free. So it's fair. It's fair. It's balanced. I have no problem with any of the level 1 talents. Level 4, Intense Corruption. Target of sustained corruption and miss an aura that deals 30 damage in a small area of effect around them. It's pretty good. It adds like a burn effect to get the fuck away from them. So I like that. So that means they can't clump together in team fights as well. Lingering corruption, sustained corruption, slow lingers for 1 second after it stopped channeling. Again, not bad. Definitely not bad. It's a little bit of an offset to Anna's sleep dart adding a bit of a blind afterwards. So you're still getting a little extra fuck you in there to certain characters. So I'm okay with that. And aggressive corruption, Leah is only slowed by 40% during sustained corruption. Debatably good. I kind of look at it like I would look at Li Ming's ult for disintegration. If you're going to use it, commit. Don't move around. Like, you can kind of move around in it. You're just really slow. But try to commit. Like, anchor yourself down to the point where nothing's going to get in your way if you're going to commit to a concentrated channeled ability. But again, the fact that you can move opens up a shit ton of possibilities. Being able to move slightly faster, more possibilities. So no complaints about anything at level 4. At level 7, Hungry Demons. Demons deal 50 damage to units passed through on their way to the target and return to Lee after they connected. That's pretty cool. So it kind of turns Lee's spread attack into Diablo's built-in Fire Stomp that returns to him. I like that, and it kind of ties into her Diablo persona as well. Oh man, I just thought of something. If they ever actually put Lee in as a separate character, one, it's gonna make no fucking sense because, hi, Diablo's over there, and it's decidedly, like with Primeval Diablo, it's decidedly like Leah's version of Diablo. But the dialogue of the two talking would be super interesting. Like, oh, I can't even. Fuck, I'm creative by nature and I can't even think of where they'd go with that. That's. Oh, I want them to do just for that. Anyway, units can be damaged twice in this way. Makes perfect sense. If it hits them on the way back, it totally works out. Corruption Spread extends the range of Shadow Beast and Dark Bargain by 20%. It affects 2 abilities, that's pretty good for a level 7. Self-Control Quest. Gain 5% ability power while below 25. Gain 5% ability power while below 250 control. How is that a quest? You're not saying they have to do something. You're not saying they earn something. Where is the quest part of this questing talent you speak of? I would go back and look at that, because I feel like there's supposed to be more, especially like the double ellipses on the end of control. Like, is there supposed to be more here that's just not here? Did you forget something and then just went down to level 13? Go back and finish this one up and give me a call, because I'm kind of curious. Alright, level 13, Impending Dark. Leah is unstoppable during sustained corruption, but she is still slowed. So, again, pretty good. And you could just backpedal while doing it, I bet. I guess that you might be able to. I mean, it doesn't really say you have to aim it. It just says you're doing it. So, yeah, that could possibly be good. Oh, maybe what it is, maybe it's less like a straight-up channel like Li Ming's Disintegration, and it's more like a tether, kind of like, who has that in League of Legends? I think Karma has something where you tether to somebody and you heal them or you damage them. I can't remember what it is. It's been so long since League of Legends. I played Karma like barely at all. But something like that. Maybe that's what it is. So you can still move around and do shit, and it doesn't even lock you into your animation. Maybe that's what it is. And then being unstoppable during that would be really good. So, something to consider. Shadow Bond. Each hero hit by Shadow Swarm gives 10 armor for 3 seconds, and it costs... it's not bad. It's pretty good. And you unleash... How many Shadow Beasts did it do again? Shadow Swarm was up here. 6 demons. So you could get up to 60 armor with that for 3 seconds. That's pretty good. Especially, actually... No, I'm not even thinking of how busted that could be. Because if these demons all hit targets at different times, like they're a little bit farther apart, so you get one, another one, another one, another one, you're just getting armor that's stacking for a lot longer than 3 seconds. That could be really good in a concentrated team fight. Or like, not even a concentrated team fight, actually the opposite, like a team fight where people filter in. Like you're on a point and everyone's rushing to it, and you just unleash the hounds on them there. That could be really good for sustainability for yourself. That's interesting. Alright, and Light in the Darkness. Dark Bargain removes suns and roots. Very basic, but it's level 13, and by that point you'll know if you need your cleanse or not, so I'm okay with that. Okay. I think Before I read any further and possibly screw up this sentiment, I'm going to give Bebop Optimus Prime a little bit of credit here. All of these talents so far are at the appropriate level they should be. Nothing feels broken. I don't have any complaints. Besides self-control not being a questing talent as advertised. So, kudos so far. Kudos. Let's see if it gets fucked up now, though. Level 16, self-control. Control gauge is boosted by 100, boosting it to 600 points. Shadow Pulse now restores 15 control, so if you want more flexibility, I guess. Rampant Construction. Wow! How the fuck do you take Corruption and get Construction? Why do I do these things? Rampant Corruption. Leah deals 75 damage per second with a small AoE around her body during Corruption and can now move at 50% speed while Corruption is in effect. Pretty good buff. Pretty good buff. No complaints here. And Terra Firma, gain an additional charge of Corrupt Earth. It now restores 15 control, so if you wanted to buff your Q, I believe that was? It was your secondary Q. Okay. So, yeah, it's not too bad. The only complaint I would probably have about Terra Firma is you're buffing an ability you don't always have, which I guess could be said about someone like Valeera, where you're buffing your stealth abilities but not your non-stealth abilities. But at least she gets that back every, 7-8 seconds. I can't quite remember what Valeera's cooldown is on Vanish at the start. Whereas Leah needs to kind of have a full passive built around how to access half of her kit. So it's debatable if at level 16, when you're getting really close to fucking Storm tier talents, if you want to waste a talent slot on something that only buffs something you're not always going to have. Could be really, really good if you chose to pick, what was it, Unhinged? Unhinge as your alt, so you have more access to it. That could be really good. But for base players, I don't think that's going to get picked a lot. Just a thought. Alright, and the level 20 talents. Marked Blessing. Mark's Blessing. Marked Blessing could have also worked here, I guess. Each hero who dies under the effect of Mark restores 50 control and its cooldown reduced by 10 seconds. That's debatably good. I mean, I'm looking for a little bit more oomph for my Storm talents. Hopeless. Deal 2 damage for every 5 points of consumed corruption on a large AoE cast of Unhinge. You know what's actually kind of interesting is that neither of these, this one here lists Unhinge in its description, but neither of these really state that they're to the ultimate specifically. You just kind of have to know because it's always the top 2 that are. But this one right here, what the hell was this even? Evil's Mark. Yeah, it does mention a mark, but you don't really state that it's buffing it too much. So that's an interesting way to go with this. And her other one is... Oh, she's got 2 more. They were bolded in a weird way, I guess. All right, motivation through fear. Allies inside the range of corruption gain 10% movement speed and attack speed. That seems very... I know it's both. I know it's movement and attack speed. Seems really, really minimalistic for a 20 talent. I would probably not take that unless it got a buff. And relief. If Lee successfully returns from corruption, allies inside the range of corruption are healed 50% of their maximum health. That's not too bad. That is not. But... And here would be my biggest problem with everything that I've read so far. Very, very little of this screams specialist to me. More of this says support to me than it does specialist. Because I saw a couple of heal, I saw a cleanse, minorly a cleanse. Or one of her 20 talents is a heal. I don't see a lot of specialist in this. The only reason I do is because she plays very differently. And to me... specialists in Heroes of the Storm should be more about this character plays differently than most typical characters. If you're playing a warrior, you know you're a tank of some kind. If you're playing an assassin, you know you're damage. If you're playing a support, you're probably healing. Playing a specialist, the gloves are off, you could be anything. You could be Abathur, you could be Sylvanas, you could be Gazlowe, you could be anything. This kind of fits into that, but it's more a specialist to me. I didn't see much about wave clear or laning. I really hate the ads on this site. I really do. I didn't see much about laning or wave clear or anything like that. In fact, most of her abilities seem to decrease when you hit a non-hero with them. So that's interesting. That almost seems like you're breaching into assassin territory. But as it stands right now, if I had to complain about this build, it screams more multi-class assassin and support than single specialist. So I guess that's not really a complaint when you get down to it. It's more of an opinion. But all things considered, this is interesting. I would play this. I enjoy this. That's one of the reasons why I messaged Bebop Optimus Prime. It seemed really interesting. But I also know that Leah is a wanted character in it. She's not, like, Deathwing demanded, but she's still up there. People would still like to try her out. People would still like to see what she can do. I'm assuming her basic attack would probably be up like a longbow, if I had to guess, because it's the only weapon you ever see her use in the game. But she'd be really interesting to try out, and I would be absolutely for it. So, if you liked this build, let me know in the comments below. Let beboptimusprime know on either Heroes Fire or in the comments below. If you have your own build for Leah, submit it to me, let me know, and I will take a look at it. I'm not opposed to doing the same hero through multiple builds on this channel. But all things considered, whether it's this one or any of the other ones that people have put together, Blizzard, make this a thing. Seriously, what the hell is this questing town supposed to be? I wanna know!